fellow collectors, and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Leader Class Ultra Magnus from the Transformers Kingdom War for Cybertron trilogy line from Hasbro. So yes, this is from the previous line. I know this review is a little late. Originally this is one I wasn't going to pick up because I had the Siege Magnus and I was pretty happy with that, and it just didn't really seem different enough to me to warrant another $50 purchase. But I was able to pick it up as part of that really nice Hasbro sale we had about a month ago, so I got it for about 40% off. And I've come to realize that there really are quite a few differences between the Siege Magnus, and we're going to take a look at all those in this video. So first off, we will start with the packaging here. Some really nice artwork of Magnus in robot mode and vehicle mode. Of course, you have the exploding volcano in the background there. On this side, we have that kind of standard Kingdom picture we have on the side of all of the boxes. Not really too much going on the top or the bottom. And if we spin around to the back, again, we can see the robot mode. We can see the smaller kind of cab robot mode. And then the full truck mode down here. So looking pretty good. Gonna go ahead and get everything out of the box here and we can take a closer look. Alright, so here is Ultra Magnus out of the packaging. And he looks pretty great. I really like him a lot. I think they did a nice job. I mean, the original Siege one I thought was pretty good. I do think this one's even better, honestly. Let's do a quick comparison with the two so you can see some of the major differences here. So you can see that the face is a little bit darker gray here. It was more of a silver here. You can see the pauldrons are definitely molded differently, and I have to say I like the ones on the new Magnus a lot better. These were fine, but I do really like the design of these. Even the shoulder missiles are definitely molded differently. You can see that these are a little bit more intricate. These are a bit more simplistic, but I feel like these are definitely more indicative of the original toy and the animation design, so I do kind of like these a little bit better. The chest plate, I would say, is definitely the next major difference. You can see how completely different that is with the molding. The waist bits here are definitely different. The arms are pretty much the same, the arms and the hands. And the legs are the same, just a little bit different in terms of like the paint apps, because obviously this doesn't have all of that weathering that we got with all these Siege figures. I believe these are the same, they're just painted differently, but I believe the molded detail is the same. And you can see here, these don't have the silver outline that we have here. And then again, we don't have any of that weathering. He also does not come with the giant black cannons that was included here. These really, in my opinion, were included for Cybertron Prime, that they remolded out of this. But for whatever reason, Magnus from Siege came with them. Kingdom Magnus does not. The gun is exactly the same. This is just, again, more of a silver, more of a darker gray, just like with the face. And you can see here that Kingdom Magnus has a little bit less junk in the trunk in terms of the front grille section of what will be the truck. The cab, I should say. But yeah, I really do like the Kingdom Magnus. Like I said, I thought this one was perfectly fine, but I think they tweaked enough that I do like this one a little bit better. So I think that's pretty cool. Let's get into Kingdom Magnus a little bit more. So I want to take a look at the head sculpt, because I do think it looks really good. And it's kind of fun. They painted like the bottom sections of the eyes so that they look like they're fully painted because of like his head crown, and it casts a little bit of shadow. So it looks like the eyes are painted, but actually the top part of the eyes are not painted so that you can still get the light piping, which I think is really cool. I don't have anything to shine light directly in there, unfortunately, but I was playing with it earlier, and you can shine light in here, and he still really gets the light piping effect, but that way, if you're just looking at him, it just looks kind of like the eyes are fully painted because of the shadow cast from his forehead. So it's kind of a nice duality there. You can kind of have your cake and eat it too in that respect. And I think that's pretty cool. The face sculpt is good. Nice detail there. I like that kind of darker gray for the face. I think that looks really nice. Head, you can spin side to side. It is on a ball joint. You can look down. You can look up. You can tilt a little bit side to side. Certainly look side to side, no problem. And you can see all that plastic there for the light piping. Shoulders, you can rotate. You have a little bit of out to the side here. Not this section, but where the actual shoulder is, you can kick out to the side. You have a bicep swivel there. You have 90 degrees there in the elbow, and you do have a wrist swivel. You have a little bit of waist movement, but it's kind of, you know, these kind of pieces are knocking into each other, so just be a little careful with it. But you do have a little bit there. If we move the arms out of the way, he can kick pretty far to the side. You can kick pretty far forward. Can't really kick too much back, again, because of that large butt piece. You do have a thigh swivel there. I would say almost 90 degrees in the knee. Again, just a lot of the pieces kind of get in the way, but almost 90 degrees there. And then the ankle tilt is just kind of built in because of how these pieces are made. So there's not really any ankle tilt that you can move, but you can see it's kind of just built into it. So that when you have him at kind of a basic stance here, let me zoom out, you can see that he's got that kind of ankle tilt built in. But yeah, all in all, I really like him a lot. I think he looks good. And I do like the changes they made. I think this is probably the superior one. I'm glad I eventually got it. Like I said, the Siege one's good, and if you can only get the Siege one, it's not a big deal. He still will assume the role of Ultra Magnus in your collection. It's still a really good figure. But I think they did change enough, specifically here in the chest plate and the back section here, and the missiles, and the pauldrons. I really do like those as well. So they changed enough that I think, you know, this is definitely worth the update. And this is definitely more like a G1 cartoon accurate Magnus. I think they did a really nice job with that. So let's go ahead. Let's get into his transformation. All right, so first thing we're going to do, go ahead and remove all these weapon pieces. Take the shoulder missiles off and remove the gun. And just to take a closer look at the gun, you can see it's actually molded out of red and then painted this dark gray color, which is kind of fun. So we're going to put all those off to the side for the moment. And then we're really just going to start removing armor, because this guy is just kind of a prime wearing a ton of armor. So we're going to come to the arms, open these up on the side here, slide this piece off, and then we can close that back up, put that off to the side. Same over here on this arm. Put that off to the side. Come around to the back, flip these gray pieces down, because they kind of peg into this tab here on the arm, and then you can just slide these off. They peg into that tab right there. I don't know why these pieces are gray, to be quite honest. I feel like they could have been molded out of blue, just so they blend in a little bit better, or at least white, but I don't know. So then we're going to go ahead and flip this one down, pop this off. We're going to take these, straighten these straight down like so, and then you can see that there is a little connector here, kind of a mushroom peg, that's going to slide onto here. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then put these off to the side. We are going to go ahead and grab the chest plate here. This is going to unhook. This is going to then lift up like this. And then this entire section is going to pop off. And for some reason, it always makes me want to kind of pull this forward while I'm trying to grab a hold of it. So just push that back in. We're going to flip this part up like this. We're going to bring these pieces back in. And then this peg hole right here is going to peg in over here. You want them with the longer parts towards the center, so that they kind of almost make like a home plate, so that they kind of go in like that. And then you'll flip this part out as well. And then we can put that off to the side to be done something with later. Then we're going to just slide these whole leg sections off, and you can put them off to the side for a moment, so that we can take a look at our giant fat prime. You're going to take this section here on the waist, flip it down, flip this 180 degrees, pop it back up. You're going to unhook the shoulders so that you can flip this down. I guess it's easier if you have that down still. Then you can flip the head out. This is going to close back up. Then you can clip these back into place. And then they want you to slide this forward so that you can take this section, slide it up the back. You just have to make sure that this lines up, slide that up, and then you can clip that back into place, and then come down here and flip out the heels. So here we go. This is our kind of white prime. If you remember the original toy, it was basically just a white prime cab with a much different trailer so that you could make Ultra Magnus, and they've kind of kept that alive here. He looks pretty good. It's not bad. You have some nice paint applications here for the head. And especially down here for this waist plate. A little bit of silver here for the cab. And I think these are translucent windows. Now it's interesting that these windows are just painted a dark gray, but they're translucent here on the front. And just to do a quick comparison with the white prime from Siege Magnus, I think I definitely prefer this one. I just like the more traditional cab chest as opposed to whatever's going on here. Plus, he's definitely more of an off-white, and this guy's a much brighter white, which I kind of enjoy. Not that, again, this one's not bad, but I just think I like this one a little bit better. I will say I do like the additional blue up here in the head crest, whereas they went with silver up here. And you have a much bigger Autobot symbol on this arm than this arm. But this one's outlined in silver, where this one's not, so there's trade-offs. But you can see, for the most part, I would say from the waist down, pretty much all the same. The arms are the same, the shoulders are the same. It's really just the chests. I would even say the head is slightly different. I could be 100% wrong about that, but this one seems a little bit sleeker, and this one seems a little bit wider. Can't know for sure. Of course, these backpack pieces are very different. So we'll put him off to the side, and then we will get back to transforming this guy into the cab. Alright, so we're going to start by taking this, flipping the heels back in, like so. Coming around to the back here, we're going to push this front section forward again so that we can line this up and drop that down, snap that into place. Push this all the way forward. We're going to unpeg the shoulders once again so that we can drop this down and fold the head in, close this up, spin this section 180 degrees, and then we're going to kind of push this all the way forward until you hear that lock into place. You're going to push the arms up so that they're at a complete 90-degree angle at the elbow. Bring this around. You can see that this tab is going to go right into this spot right here. So that's going to go in there. And then you just want to kind of make sure that you can see how there's like not quite a full tab, but it hangs off the back of the elbow here. You want to make sure it fits into this space. And then rotate the fist 90 degrees like so. So we're going to do that again with the other arm. Put that in there. Rotate that down. Now with the legs, you can't just bring them straight up. You can see that there's these tiny little tabs. And so you have to bring this up. And then there's a tiny little spot for those tabs right there. So as you bring this up, and then you can kind of clip that on there like that. So bring this up, push that in, and then you can also peg the legs together there. And there you go. That is the cab, pretty much ready to go. So we're going to bring these pieces. We have this section here that we already have ready. We have this section here. This little kind of U-bracket here is going to clip on to this section here. So we're going to go ahead and pop this on like that, and then that will sit right there. We're going to bring our two legs in. We're going to unpeg this section here on the back of the leg, like so. Unpeg, please. They do snap on pretty nice. So then we're going to just open this up and completely unaccordion this whole section here. You can see it stretches out pretty far. So we're going to do the same thing with the other leg. Pop this, flip this all the way out. And then we're going to take this section here. And you can see how we have these tabs here, here, and here. This is going to come in, and you can see that there's a tab spot right there, and then kind of a channel right there. So this is going to come in and pop right there. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other one. And then we're also going to use that to snap the legs together like so. So now we're going to bring this in. You can see that there's this little channel right here and right here. And you have this kind of like eye bracket right here. So this is going to come in. This little tab right here is going to peg in right there. And then you also want to line up those eye brackets. So you kind of have to make sure everything is straight and at the right angle so that it goes in properly. And for whatever reason, I still, like this one, I don't usually have trouble with, but this one, I have trouble getting this to go all the way in. I don't really know why. And it might be that I don't have something completely lined up, because I also feel like these should peg in a little bit tighter, but they don't really. But there we go. That should be good enough. Then we're going to lift this section up and kind of leave these out to the side here. We're going to bring the cab in now. And you can see we have these clips here on the side. They are going to clip in right here, and then there's a large tab spot right here, which is going to be for this tab here on the side of the shoulder. So we're going to kind of tab that in like so. Make sure that's nice and secure, and clip that in. Then we'll kind of rotate this in, and then bring this in here to tab in, and then this to clip on. There we go. And then this will kind of just fold down, and as we do so, you can see that there's kind of a clip right here, and then that's going to kind of fit into this spot right here. So you just kind of bring this down and push those in so that they clip on and kind of shore that up. And there we go. We have our Ultra Magnus in car carrier mode. Now, if you want to bring these pieces back in, you can take these and peg them in on the sides here, like so. If you want, you can put the gun a various couple places. You can kind of put it back here if you want, which is a little tight, I will say, and since that's kind of a thinner piece of plastic, I don't necessarily like to do that because I don't want that to break over time. But you can peg this into any of the other various spots. So you can see you kind of have a spot here on the side you could peg it in. And I feel like he had more spots, but I guess he doesn't. He's got one down here on the side of his leg you could use. So you have a couple options. Or you can just put it off to the side. Honestly, you could probably put it inside there somehow. While you're transforming it, you could probably lay it across if you wanted to store it inside. That's still an option. But it's a pretty cool little car carrier, and you can, of course, put other cars on top. You could probably fit two if you kind of put him a little bit further back and then another one a little bit further forward, something like that. I think you could fit two on top of there fairly easily. And then let's do a comparison with Siege Magnus. Let me zoom out here. So you can see definitely quite different in terms of the cab. He's got this kind of large cow catcher here. And this one I believe was definitely meant to resemble, at least in vehicle mode, 2001 Ultra Magnus or God Magnus from Car Robots, depending on what naming convention you want to use. But this section down here, definitely 2001 Robots in Disguise Magnus. And this kind of section in here as well. So this vehicle mode, I feel like, was definitely made to kind of resemble him. And then when they wanted to go ahead and do the Earth mode, you know, they kind of did the best that they could. Because the original one kind of had like the top section, and this was all very open. You could, in the original toy, you could put a car down here and then maybe two on top. Can't really put anything inside there, but that's okay. You can still put one or two on top. But you can see even the, let me put these on top of each other here. The sides you can see are very different. You can see the wheels are very different. The front's very different. The cab, all very different. The backs are still pretty much the same. And unlike the original toy, you can't put these ramps down. That was always something I kind of enjoyed, but we can't really do that here. Let me put him off to the side. But yeah, I think it's a pretty good little car carrier mode. I think it works pretty well. So I think Kingdom Magnus is actually pretty great. I was content with the Siege one, but I think they've made some notable improvements with this one that I think it's worth adding it to your collection. I really do like the new chest plate. I think they did a really nice job with that. I like the new cab. It definitely gives him a lot less junk in the trunk over here in this robot mode, but also just kind of makes for a more G1 cartoon accurate cab as opposed to the last one. The Siege one I feel like was definitely a nod to 2001 Car Robots Magnus, which I enjoyed at the time, and I still really do enjoy. But if you're looking for a more like G1 cartoon accurate Magnus, I think this guy's definitely the way to go. I also prefer none of that like weathering look that they did for Siege. More times than not, that just didn't need to be there, and I get what they were going for, and it was the aesthetic of the whole line. But, you know, if you could give me the option of not having it, whenever they redo characters without it, they always look better, just look cleaner, and I just like it better. So I do prefer having Magnus here with none of that weathering. But yeah, articulation, pretty great. Paint applications look good. I like what they did with the eyes, where you're just looking at it. You have the bottoms kind of painted so that the head kind of has the shadow and doesn't show you the unpainted parts, but the unpainted parts are still there if you want to utilize the light piping. I think that's pretty cool. It's kind of the best of both worlds there. Transformation's not bad. It is pretty much just kind of taking armor off of the white Prime and then transforming the Prime into the cab and then putting the armor parts to make a trailer. But it works. I think it's fine. I think it's a little bit easier to transform back and forth than the Siege Magnus was, just because that had a lot more kind of parts that had to snap together and were kind of harder to unsnap when you wanted to transform him back into robot mode. I think this one's a little bit easier to go back and forth. But yeah, I think he's pretty great. I don't really have too much negative to say about this guy. If I had to nitpick something, I don't really know why these little spots up here weren't painted white with the rest of the shoulder pauldrons. I'm assuming it must be because they're kind of just like your normal peg size for the fists, so if you wanted other characters to wield them as melee weapons, I guess. I don't know why you would, but you could, I guess, and that's probably why they don't... Usually parts that are going to go into fists, they don't paint so that the paint doesn't rub off, but I kind of would have just preferred those be painted white with the rest of it. Small nitpick. Also, I kind of wish there was an Autobot symbol here on his shoulder. But again, those are very small nitpicks, really not super worth noticing, but if I had to pick something, yeah, otherwise he's pretty great, and I really like him a lot. So if you were on the fence and you thought I have the Siege one, I don't really need the Kingdom one like I was, I say go ahead and find yourself a Kingdom Magnus to add to the collection, especially if you can find him on sale. I think he's definitely worth it on sale. He came out pretty great. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.